When I was approached to take this position, I said no. Because the term school readiness makes me feel allergic. We oftentimes say that children need to be ready for school, and that is farthest from the truth. Because children, as you saw, are biologically ready to go. It's actually schools that need to be ready. Let me start with families, actually. Families that need to be ready, schools that need to be ready, communities that need to be ready, and ultimately our state needs to be ready for every single child who is entering the K-12 system. And so, of course, my position, being a 28-year early childhood professional, is that it starts prenatal. But I will say that our state really recognizes education at the kindergarten gateway. So I took this position with the hope that we can all change the narrative from high stakes, top down, one test score showing kindergarten readiness or not, to that of us all meeting children where they're at. That ready children are ready when they are met and anchored by ready families, ready schools, ready communities, and ultimately ready Idaho. So if you can advance that slide for me. Now, this was created by someone else who decided to put in Idaho AEYC, the symbol. But this model, this graphic shows that really it's an interconnected around the children that brings success to children. Now, again, children are biologically ready to go. But there are many things that we can do as librarians, as early childhood educators, as parents of daughters, 4 of them. It was everything to me that in the car I was talking about, hey, how many eyes are in this car? And they go, well, there's 3 people in here. I go, yeah. How? 6 eyes! This was at age 2. At age 2. Don't tell me kids can't do things, but also don't tell me that kids have to be bound by just a checklist. Checklists are good, but only when it's used properly. So join with me in looking at a new way. This year, this is my goal, that we come up with a better solution together, and you're part of the Ready communities. So thank you for your work, and we're going to talk about what school readiness really means in all of its little facets, including math. So, thank you. All right, so speaking of checklists, we do want to acknowledge and let you know that Idaho has formally adopted kindergarten readiness guidelines. They're not calling them standards because right now standards is just a word that people interpret in a lot of different ways. But this was formally adopted by the State Board of Education last fall. So this document, they're getting ready to revamp their website, and they'll have a whole parent section on their website where parents will be able to go and download this checklist. So it's actually not available to the public yet, but it is in your Google Drive. We put a copy, and we put a copy in your folder. So you do have this. This is just this took months of people representing all kinds of educationalists. I was part of this group. There were a lot of people, and it took a long time to figure out what to choose to put on this list because there's so many things, and kids do develop at different rates. So, we don't want parents freaking out if their, child doesn't, can't do some of these things, and then they say, well, they're not ready for kindergarten, so we're not going to send them. That's not the point of this. But parents have been asking, and educators have been asking, and other people have been asking for kind of a set of standards that we can all sort of start working from. So this is kind of,
sort of kind of your essentials, but this isn't something that you take and check off or give to parents and say, hey, your kid can do all these things, they are ready. That's not quite true, but it is a place to start, and that was sort of what the group agreed on. So this is there. Other states do have official standards, and this is as official as Idaho can get right now. So that's that. We want to kind of take you to some essential pieces of research information, and on your table is an envelope. And on that envelope, in the envelope, are 5 or 6 research points that we want each person to pick one, read it, and then kind of explain to your group what you think that means. And we're going to kind of be working sort of from these essential pieces throughout the morning today. So this is from the Reimagining School Readiness program, which came out of the Bay Area Discovery Museum. We took part in that project last year, and we held 2 trainings, and some of you took part in that with us. And we're not going to go into that whole workshop, but we do really feel like there are some great pieces of information here, and it really does make us think about things differently, because we have been, for the past 20 years especially, really focused in on that literacy piece, and that's still important. But we also now want to make sure we're sort of reimagining that piece and considering other things as well that really address the whole child. So go ahead and take your research piece, read it, and we'll give you a few minutes to then talk to your table about what you think it means. Were there any ahas with those research pieces? Anybody have an aha moment? Looking over these pieces, Mackie, what aha did you have?
Here it is. Mine was quality adult-child interactions shapes thinking skills. And my aha moment was, even if they cannot respond verbally, having these interactions can help a child process language more efficiently. So that was amazing.
Absolutely. And that, even from babies, right? When we learned from Dr. Womack yesterday, the serve and return, and absolutely. Amanda, what aha did you have?
So we were talking about the science piece and doing science activities with little ones. And I have observed a Head Start teacher that I go and visit her classroom once a month, that she's not afraid to do science in her classroom, to get down, to get dirty, to have fun, to make a mess. And I watch those children then in other parts of the classroom, then when they're on the rug for story time, they can regulate their behavior better. They're not afraid to answer questions and maybe get the wrong answer. They are connected as a class in a way that I don't see any of the other Head Start classrooms be. So it's really been interesting to see that connection between doing science with your children also, can do other things, but then it also leads into other aspects of their educational experience and their social emotional stuff. So.
Yeah, and I think, don't you think that kind of connects with what Leanne was saying yesterday about learning to take a risk, exploring. And science gives us that opportunity to get down and get dirty and explore things and not having there have to be a right answer, right? You can really, science at this age is observing and exploring and classifying and cause and effect, right? It's not chemistry. Well, it is.
We were discussing the math skills, demonstrating strong math skills, and that was something that as librarians we've always focused on, that literacy, and to have it switch gears here is kind of that, well, it makes sense when we think about it and talk about it, but initially it's that moment.
Yeah. So she was, if you couldn't hear her over there, talking about the math skill and how we have been so focused on literacy for many, many years. So it is important, and the math, sometimes I'll say math literacy, and really it's just, it's there. Sometimes there's no dividing line. There's, it just really overlaps into a lot of areas. So, any other ahas? All right. So also on your table are some examples of what we call conversation starters. And that kind of goes into kind of what we're going to be focusing on today. We're kind of wrapping a lot, but we're layering today. So we're layering these research points. We're layering what you learned yesterday. And we're layering what we're going to get into with some, what we call numeracy, kind of all together to really drive home that importance of the adult's role in scaffolding the child to move through from that zone of proximal development and create that schema.
One of your superpowers as a librarian is the ability to ask more of children. Some of you have seen this book. It's called Big Questions for Young Minds. And this book does just that, allowing for us to ask those big questions. And oftentimes, I've heard parents say, "Can you tell Miss Heather what this is? Is it a tiger? Yes, is it a tiger?" And that child just goes, "It's a tiger." There is no need to go any higher in thinking because we have kept the child right at the beginning. Remember, what is it? What is it? What is it? Is it a tiger? Is it a tiger? But if we are to ask more, and children are capable of more, right? Those are the levels that you can ascend on the Bloom's taxonomy with your questions. And those prompts, that's a really good way to ask more of each child. And the opportunity for that child to talk about their research. Because in essence, that's what children do in science and hands-on, minds-on, hearts-on work. And why does that messy stuff really work? It engages the whole child, sensory-wise. You get that opportunity to ascend on the Bloom's taxonomy when your entire being is being met.